Hola, soy Alejandro Sahuquillo y estoy aquí para que triunfes hoy con Farzad Mesbahi. Farzad, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait for this discussion. Let's go. Let's do this.
The excitement is mine because you know that I made an interview with Joe Justice, I don't know, I think a couple of months ago. Mm-hmm. And it was really mind-blowing for what he said, his experience at Tesla was. And afterwards, I started reading some comments of people saying, that's a scam, that cannot be true. And I knew because I had researched Joe that he's a top entrepreneur, also TED talker, everything. I know he was legit, but I was thinking, why anybody in this time has explained Tesla in such a way as Joe has done? Mm-hmm. And afterwards, a few weeks after, it was your first video, actually your second, because you have a band. Your first video, it's playing a band, right? Like 12 years ago. Yeah. And your first video about Tesla, you speak about the good, the bads, and many of the things, in other words, are similar to Joe. So
that's right.
Thank you. It was a big relief.
Sure, no problem at all. Yeah, I remember. So I remember seeing that interview with you and Joe. That was one of the things that inspired me to sort of come out and share my story as well. You know, there's a lot of similarities of what him and I have experienced at Tesla. And what's funny is that he was on the factory side and I was on the supply chain side. And there's a lot of commonality. It's a very special place to work. It's a very special place to work, and it's very unique in the way Tesla approaches things. So yeah. It was an awesome interview you did.
And you made, I think, an even awesomer interview yesterday that you were speaking with Joe Justice for 2 hours, and it was mind-blowing. But we will speak about that later.
Sure.
I wanted to know, because, sorry, my ignorance, I'm not engineer, I don't know anything about supply chains, warehouses, and everything. Mm-hmm. By watching your videos, I didn't understand what was like the role, not your role, but what was the Bethlehem warehouse in Pennsylvania? What did you do? Like, was it parts or whole cars?
Yeah, it was parts. So it would essentially send parts to the service center network and the body shop network. So essentially think about it like this. Tesla owns a lot of their own really, they own all their supply, their service centers. You know, the Tesla service centers that open up in Madrid or Cordoba or in New York. Tesla owns those stores. It's internal, and they control the supply chain, the distribution aspect of those service centers. So if a car goes into the shop to get a heat pump replaced, or they need a new tire, whatever, a trim is loose and they need a changed, those parts come from those facilities, and one of them is in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is on the East Coast, and that one is responsible for primarily the East Coast of the United States. And then that building has been there for a little bit over 4 years now, and that's what they do. They ship parts to body shops and service centers.
Okay, now I understand, because in some of their videos you said like our clients, sending parts to our clients, and I was thinking about maybe service centers, but as you've said, they are part of Tesla. I didn't quite understand. Thanks for that.
Sure.
And you started as an analyst and you ended up being program manager. So you have like people under you. And one of the things that struck me about this conversation that I've just said that you had yesterday, or you uploaded yesterday with Joe Justice, is like, it was not the kind of conversation that you would expect of two people that have never met before and that they have worked in the same company. It was a conversation like two kind of best pals that they're speaking about some common past or their favorite sports team or Netflix show. How was your feeling of that conversation and the relationship with Tesla workers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what makes Tesla really unique as a company is that it really tends to bring a lot of like-minded people together. And when you do that as a company, you have a lot of like-minded people working with each other or working apart from each other, but in different parts of the company, is that there seems to be a lot of shared common ways that people think, or the way they view the world, or the way they view the company. And Tesla being, at least for me, I can speak for myself. I've been a fan of the company for so long, and I really admire its mission and Elon and everything like that. But I think that's a very common thread for people that work at Tesla. I think people that work at Tesla are first and foremost there for the mission and to try and move the company forward. And of course, not every single person is going to be like that, but it's a very common theme. And as soon as you get those people together, it just becomes very easy to have a conversation. It's almost like you have this connection with the person about something that appears to be extremely important for the world. And that just sort of allows you to be very comfortable. And like, from my experience, that seems to be rare, because I've heard in my past, people are usually like, oh, I got to go to work. I got to wake up and go, I don't want to get out of bed. I have to go do this. I have to go do that. That sometimes doesn't allow you to be passionate about the company, because then you're like, oh my God, I love going to work. And most people are like, you're stupid. Why would you want to go to work? Blah, blah, blah. I think that's one unique thing that Tesla has, is that it really does. And again, I'm speaking for myself, but I have seen this as well at the company, is that it really has that magnetic force around people that are all passionate about the company, and they're very happy to sit down and talk about it. And I think that just creates a bond. That just automatically creates a bond, and then it just becomes very easy to have a conversation. I felt like I knew Joe for a long time when we sat down and talked yesterday, especially at the end. We shared a drink together and everything. It's like, it was very natural. But I just think that's the power of having a company like Tesla that is so transcendent. Its mission is so big that it inspires people. And when you have those people that are inspired sitting down together to talk about it, it becomes very, very, very easy to do that.
About the thing you've said about being transcendent, after that conversation, I was thinking what I was telling you, like, what is Tesla? I mean, it's not really a company. So I was thinking, like, maybe we could make an analogy of being a kind of a religion of a 21st century, because there's a common belief, a mission that you have to okay, with respect with religious people. I'm Catholic, and I guess like so many people have their own religion, but
sure,
there's a faith in a mission. Then there's sacrifices that especially you, the workers, have to do. And then there's a kind of God that everybody believes in and adores. Mm-hmm. What do you think as a Tesla worker? Do you think that analogy?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit to it, where the mission is definitely it does feel almost as important as if and I got to be careful with how I say this, because I also don't want to paint the company and the workers as a cult, because it is definitely not a cult. People still get paid, and people get paid really, really well. So that's one thing that doesn't happen in the sort of like a cult or a religion. People end up paying, and then it's like they pay to the cult, right? Tesla's very different. You still get compensated, right? You still got to go in there, and they do take care of you. So but I do think I just think what it really comes down to is how unique the mission is, and the leadership that Tesla has in Elon is just so vastly different from what we think of as a company, So you have a combination of two things, and this is all my opinion. This is sort of me thinking out loud, and sort of trying to figure out how to answer this question. But Tesla is a company that its core mission is to move the world towards sustainable future, right? So that already is transcendent. That already says we're going to try to impact everybody. It's not we're going to try to make the United States stronger. We're try to make blah country stronger. We want more American workers, which would be great, but it's more than that. We're going to transition the entire world, every single human being, to a sustainable future, so we can be here for a long time. That already is very unique in its purpose, right? And then you have somebody like Elon that's up front and leading from the front. Very obvious that he's out there doing the work himself, being very transparent about what the company's trying to do and what he's trying to achieve. And then what that immediately does, in my opinion, I think it just brings a lot of people together to want to support him, because that is so rare. Usually when you see a leader of a company, and not that there's necessarily anything wrong with this, but it's not usually this huge humanitarian goal of let's move everything here. It's sort of like, we're trying to make profits a little bit better. We want to take care of our customers. It seems very old school in the way those companies operate. And I think the way Elon has approached how to run Tesla creates this newfound trust in people to say, wow, this is what a company is supposed to be like, right? This is what a company is supposed to do. It's supposed to make humanity better. It's supposed to make us move forward as a society. And sometimes, to be honest, Alejandro, I wake up and I'm like, is this too good to be true? Like this is so rare. It's so unique. And I feel like, you know, I always got to watch when I'm sitting down and talking to friends or whoever, you know, I'm like, don't bring up Tesla because you're going to sound like an idiot. Don't bring up Tesla because you're going to sound like you're in a cult, right? Like I'm always thinking about that. But we do have to give credit to Elon and Tesla about how unique that approach is. And some people may feel like it's a religion. Some people may feel like it's something more than just a company that's trying to do the right thing. But I think that's in a sea of where that is so rare. I think that's why it makes it stand out so much, because we haven't seen something like this before, in my opinion. At least I haven't. If there are other examples, I would love to hear them. But it just feels so unique, and I think that's what's so inspiring to people.
Yes, not really, because the kind of funds that Tesla has, they're similar to what Apple had and still has, and the kind of leadership that Elon has, it can be also similar to what Steve Jobs had, but they lack the mission. Apple was trying to do cool things to change technology, but it wasn't trying to do good for our future generations.
Right.
And about leadership that you were speaking about, Elon Musk, now I want you to think not as Farzad, but as the average of the Tesla workers that you've met. And if today an alien came to the world and met you as the average not an average Tesla worker, outstanding Tesla worker, but a Tesla worker, how would you define Elon Musk? I'm the alien. Who is Elon Musk?
As the average Tesla worker.
Yes.
Whoa. So I would say that Elon is somebody who's making really, really, really cool products. And he's somebody that seems to work really, really, really hard and demands a lot from the people that work at his companies. I think from an average Tesla employee perspective, and then the last bit of it would be and I want to help him in some way. And now it depends, you know, some people will be able to help for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Some people might be able to help for 6 months, you know. So but from an average, like if I were to just combine everybody and pick the middle point, I think that's what they would think. It's sort of difficult for me to really do, because I try to be fair to other people. Like I don't want to be a spokesperson for everybody. Each person is going to have their own sort of experiences, but I think that's how they would describe him. Just somebody who's just relentlessly working really hard, is making really cool stuff, and everybody who works there is expected to do as much as they can to move the company forward.
It's good because you've said he's asking you so much to work so much, but I want to help him. So that shows a lot about what Elon is able to do that I don't know if many other leaders are able.
Yep.
And I'm Tesla investor and also Tesla fans. And I think there's a commonality among Tesla investors, like when they ask what is the biggest fear that you have in the future of Tesla? It's like Elon Musk dies or Elon Musk goes to Mars. And the only way that can be mitigated is by having such a strong culture that not you, but if you went back to Tesla, all your colleagues that are still there, they have the Elon Musk mindset to continue what he has started. So now I wanted to ask you just to give me 1%, and afterwards you can explain why, okay? If I ask this average Tesla worker how much he or she believes the mantra that Elon Musk repeats in a percentage, what would you say? So I'm going to say like different ones, 4 or 5 mantras that Elon Musk repeats a lot. And you just have to tell me what the average worker of Tesla, how much is in his person. Okay, did you understand? I think
from like 1 to 100%, basically, right?
It's
like
from
okay,
1.
got it.
Okay, when you start a project, make the requirement less than
100%.
Okay, best part is no part. Best process is no process.
These are very good. 80%.
Good. Think by first principles and not by analogy.
So what's interesting about that one is that when you think you're thinking of first principles, you're not really thinking in first principles, and it's way harder than it seems.
But I don't mean.
Yeah, go ahead.
First, I don't mean like you do it. I mean that you believe in it, or you know that.
Oh, that you believe in it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That for that one's 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it.
All that matters is pace of innovation.
100%.
To work for Tesla, you don't need titles. What you need is to have to show that you have done exceptional work.
90%.
And you can speak to everyone in the company, even to Elon Musk.
100%.
Okay. If you want to comment like one of the ones, the best part is no part, you said 80%, and to work for Tesla, no title is required, 90%. If you want, if not, we can follow on.
No, for sure. Yeah, I think so. The title one. So one of the things that's I think part of human nature, and that's something that is like I try to emphasize in one of my videos from before, is that the way Tesla operates, it does try to be this model for what a ultimate workforce should be, as efficient and as let's get stuff done in the best way that we can. And so in that environment, you would think that like trying to be like, oh, I'm the boss, I'm the big boss, so everybody has to listen to me, right? Almost all people do not operate in that way, but there's of course it's human nature to want to be a little bit like, oh, like what about me? Like what about me, right? And that's a thing that Tesla tries to curb. So you do see that sometimes, right? It does get corrected, and sometimes it doesn't, and then that person may end up not being there anymore because they're sort of holding up the mission in a way to get stuff done. But that's just part of the natural process of being at Tesla, is that it just has to rewire your brain on how to operate. There are titles, like there are like I am program manager, person is material handler, director of supply chain, things like that. But the way they all work together, right? The way they all work together is as if there were no titles. Like for example, I as a program manager, I could be out there picking tomorrow, right? Or as a director of supply chain, I could be out on the floor trying to devise a process with the engineering team, right? There's a tremendous amount and almost an unending amount of cross collaboration between teams. But sometimes that one person or two, they'll have that title and they'll be like, oh yeah, well, I am the this, blah, blah, blah. But then Tesla's like, nope, no, you're not. No, you're not. That's just a way for us to figure out how to pay you and how to do something or other. But it's not a, that's a little bit more color in that one, just so you understand how I was thinking about that one a little bit.
Perfect.
Yeah.
One of the ones, but even the ones that you didn't say 100%, you said 90, 80%, and the other 100%. So I'm really glad that it's so ingrained, all the mantras that Elon Musk repeats in the culture of Tesla. I wanted to ask you about the last one that you've said 100%. Like you can speak with everyone, even Elon Musk. In one of your videos, you said, in my 4 years at Tesla, I sent 2 emails to Elon Musk, and he answered both of those.
Yeah.
How was that? Like, how long did it take to answer
the next day?
The next day, were you surprised? Yeah. Is it common among your colleagues that he answers, because he has 100,000 workers. I don't know if it was 4 years ago, but even 4 years ago, Tesla was quite a big company.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So I don't know if people would be crazy enough to email him when they don't work directly with him. So I don't know how many emails he actually gets from everybody. What I think is how the sort of his mailbox is put together is that he probably has somebody that's parsing through all the emails that he gets, and then he's got some folks on his Outlook calendar that says, okay, for this person, just shoot it straight to me. But if they're not in my direct list of contacts, then somebody's reading through them and they're saying, okay, this one's worth your time. This one's worth your time, right? So I don't really know. The one thing that's cool about Elon in that he's sort of wrote this in the emails that get leaked. Every email that he sends gets leaked to the public, unfortunately. But he always does say, if anybody can think of an improvement, please send me an email, right? I can tell you that happens. I can tell you that definitely people do send him emails and sort of say, hey, I think this could be better. But I don't know how unique of my experience was, because when I would say, oh shit, I sent Elon an email and he replied to me, people are like, why would you send Elon an email? I'm like, because I thought we could do something better. It's like, why would you do that? What if blah blah blah? I'm like, it's fine. It's like he's Elon. Like sometimes Elon gets and I completely understand this, but like they think of him as this. It's Elon. It's the big boss. He's so smart. Like, oh my God, what could happen? And maybe I think it's much healthier to think of him as just another human being that just happens to be very, 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 very smart and doesn't seem to get tired and doesn't seem to get fazed by pain, by pain of working 12, 16-hour days in the hardest things possible. That appears superhuman, but I still like to think of him as a person. And that's why I send him the emails, right? I'm like, hey, I think we should do this better. And then the next day he would reply to both, he'd be like, yeah, good idea, but this is what we're doing instead. We think that this is a better opportunity. All right, cool. Great. Bye. Thank you for emailing me. I did not expect you to reply me. Have a good day. Goodbye. So, but I think the fact that he does do that, even if however rare that is, I think that's great, because now he has a person in me that's telling this story, humanizing him a little bit, right? Because sometimes Elon's viewed as this, I think, either good or bad, he's viewed as this extra person, this incredibly like bigger than real life, bigger than anything, almost like a god in some circles, which I don't know if it's healthy. I think it's important to view him as a person who happens to be extraordinary in some things that he does, but he's still a person. He's still a human being. I hope. Maybe he's an alien. I don't know. But hopefully he's a human being, right? Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's good that he does that. I don't know how often he does it, but it's yeah.
Yeah, that completely answers, and it's amazing. Even if he has a team that helps him do that, it's amazing that he has the focus to do it. And I wanted to ask you about, okay, you were for 4 years working at Tesla, and one of your videos, you have like really interesting videos. I've been watching. Thank you. As I've told you, all of them, because I had the time, and as you've started not long ago, I had the chance to watch them. And one of them, it was, I think, I don't know if I'm mixing, about what another company should do to match Tesla. And you've said like Tesla has 3 outstanding things, that is great talent, speed of innovation, and vertical integration. And I wanted to ask you, for a talented young engineer, why would he or she wanted to work for Tesla? And I have like different things, and I want you to rank these things and maybe some others that pops into your mind. Okay. Sure. One of them is the mission. Another is you are empowered to solve hard problems. Yep. Another one is Elon Musk, that we were speaking about him. Another one is stock compensation, that you spoke in one of your videos. Yep. Another one is great products. So which ones do you think, like, for you, or if you can come back and still be the average of the Tesla workers that you know, even better? Like, sure. Why a young, talented person would want to go to Tesla?
I mean, I think honestly, it depends. It depends on how they view it, because those five are very valid. You know, it depends on how the person wants to attach themselves to that mission. I think if I were to try to put myself in and just for transparency, I wasn't an engineer. I was a program manager, but I did operate in an engineer sort of role for at least part of my tenure there. I did do process engineering and sort of it's almost like a engineer at a warehouse would design processes and things like that. So that was part of my toolbox. Didn't go to school for it, but I did learn how to do that stuff, which was incredibly fun. But I think the biggest one that stands out for me, at least the two of the ones that are I most commonly heard, are Elon Musk is definitely one of them. So he's definitely up there. But then the second one of as an engineer, solving difficult problems and being empowered, I think that is likely to be the top one, because that is so much what Tesla is. It is a place where, and I call this in one of my I called it like this in one of my videos, it's an entrepreneur sandbox. It's a place where you go to solve problems, and it's like you have a place with a million issues or things that need to get better, and then they're like, here you go, figure it out, you know, let me know what you come back with in 2-4 hours, right? As an engineer, if I try to put myself in their head, that seems like a dream, because engineers just want to do that stuff, you know. And if there's any engineers out there that want to correct me, please do so. But if I'm trying to view from that perspective, that's very important, because that's how you learn. You know, that's how you figure out how to solve problems. That's how you get exposed to different things that may happen, and that's how you develop your skill sets. Is to be introduced to very difficult things, very oftentimes with not even any tools to do them. And then you not only have to figure out how to solve the thing, but also design the tools that helps you solve the things, right? And that's one thing that I think sometimes gets lost, is that from my experience, Tesla is incredibly scrappy, meaning that they do a lot with a little, you know? And that's part of the brilliance of, in my opinion, of why Tesla is so revered and is looked at as such a game-changing company, is because they're not this company where they're willing to invest tens and hundreds of millions of dollars to hire an outside firm to say, oh, what do you think we should do, right? Figure it out. Like, we got you here. You're the smartest person we think. Go, you can do this. You know, you can do this. And I think that is what's so unique, is that it doesn't matter what the problem is. Tesla always wants to fix it internally. It's always like, we have the talent, let's figure it out ourselves. We can do this. You know, I can't tell you, and I wish I could talk about some of the things here, because I have an NDA that I still need to sort of, you know, because I worked at the company, but it was kind of shocking, the kind of things we were trying to either remove or solve that you would never have think of to do if you worked anywhere else. But Tesla's like, yeah, you should do that. You know, you should think about that. And that's part of that leadership structure that you have. You know, my bosses or the people that work with me or whatever, they would always encourage that. It's like, okay, so, but should this even exist? You know, like, have you thought about removing this part of it? Like, no, you need this. And they're like, are you sure? Do you actually need it? I'm like, well, not if we had this. And then they're like, okay, so then build this. So what if we had this? Okay, so get this and then build that, you know? That's how Tesla works. You know, it constantly teaches you to rethink, how should I approach a problem? How should I approach a problem? And that statement that Elon says about the limiting factor is physics, right? If physics allows you to do it, that's how you should do it. That's how you're encouraged to think, you know? And sometimes it's extremely, extremely, extremely difficult, because you're like, this is so hard. Like, how can anybody do this? It's so hard. But the one thing that I found is that if you're able to if you at least do it in steps that gets you to that ultimate goal, that's good, because at least you can see where you're going. So you don't have to go from 0 to 100. You can go from 0 to 20, maybe make a part of it disappear, or change how this thing works, and then go to 40 and then go to 60. So that's also an acceptable way of solving problems at Tesla, is that you're making progress towards that ultimate vision of what something should look like.
With many iterations, right?
Exactly. But as long as you're going towards the right direction, and then you're constantly rethinking, okay, what is the right direction? Like, is that actually the right direction? Every time you make that step, is that the right direction? And that's applied everywhere. You do that absolutely everywhere.
And you've said in some of your videos, like, you felt dumb every day. And yeah, I've seen your videos and everything that you were doing. and you're a super bright person.
My goodness, thank you.
Can you, like, now I'm going to reverse the question. Instead of being the average Tesla worker, is Farzad, and you are explaining to the alien how smart is the average Tesla worker, and can you define that kind of smartness? I mean, you've spoken previously, like just said about how you can solve a lot with little, but can you define a little bit more, or can you give some examples of some moments that you were astonished by the smartness of some of your colleagues?
Absolutely, there is many. There is many. I think the best way to really describe the average, again, from my experience, I don't want to speak for 100,000 people from what I saw, is that you have people in roles where in a typical company, they would be, say, like 2 or 3 steps above where they would be working on. Tesla has them everywhere, meaning like, so at the facility we worked at, we had a group of material handlers, and the material handler, their responsibility, the primary responsibility is to move product from the, there's many, but from the trailers that come into the warehouse, they unload them, they QA them, they check to make sure the quality is good for the part, they receive them into the system, they put it away into the racks, they pick it from the racks, they send it to the shipping floor, they pack it, they load it onto the truck. So, like that sort of cycle of what a distribution thing should look like. That's their role, is to physically move the product. But a humongous majority of those folks, if you were to say, hey, can you build a process that's going to help us get product out faster in the warehouse? 95% of them would be able to do that. Wow. 95% of them would be able to work in a capacity of maybe like a entry level or 1 or 2 year process engineer. And it's not because they went to school for it, it's because they're so damn intelligent and so damn brilliant. Maybe they don't even know it. Maybe that person doesn't even know it. And that's sort of the brilliance behind Tesla, is that the way they hire, the way it attracts the talent, you have a pool of so many talented individuals that they may not even know it, that are capable of doing that thing. And then they come into the company, and then you have a leadership group that's set up that has been taught and mentored on how to think outside the box. And when you think outside the box and you have a group of what would typically be seen as 35 or 40 grunts that go out and just move product, the way Tesla, at least from my experience, it's like, okay, we have 35 or 40 people that could help us solve this problem, right? And then you tap that talent, and then all of a sudden what you discover is that, holy crap, there's so many freaking smart people here. Like, I don't even know I could have been able to do that. And that's the beauty behind the talent in there, is that you just never, I'm always surprised by just how smart people in general are, to be completely honest. I don't know if this is just a Tesla thing. I think what Tesla does, it brings it out of you in a way that you maybe never thought you could do. That just having that opportunity to work on those hard problems, where in another company you typically wouldn't have that capability to do so, is the brilliance behind Tesla. So it's like, I almost have to rethink the way I think about how smart people are in general. Like, is it just a Tesla thing? Or is it because Tesla has such an amazing way of empowering people that it's just a people thing, but we haven't learned how to really get people to be truly tap into their true potential, right? And that's what I'm thinking about constantly. Like, yes, Tesla absolutely hires the best, but is everybody the best? And have we just not had a company that really knows how to do that yet, except for Tesla? That's one example. Material handlers that can do process engineering, that blows my mind. Another one is, my God, like especially at the engineers that I've worked on, I just watched them go through how to arrive to a solution. Like, okay, here's the problem. And then the way they can very quickly go through all the different variables that impact that problem, because you really think about how problems could happen in any specific company. You can have, 18, 19, 20 different variables that could impact that thing. But the way that it can just go in their head, they don't even have to list it down on a paper. Well, then you have to think about this variable, then you got to think about this one. So what if this one impacts the other one? Then we have to rethink how this one's going to flow. And they just do that in their head. And then you have 2 or 3 people bouncing ideas back and forth. And then in 10 minutes, you have the solution, and then you go, we had a rule. My boss, who's a very good friend of mine now, his name's Greg.
Right?
Greg. I love him so much. He's incredible. One of the most talented people I've ever met. Love you, Greg. If you watch this, mwah, I love you. As a friend, but that's okay too.
Yes, in Mariconada.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, we had a rule at the facility. Nothing. You should always be able to find the solution in 20 minutes. That was the rule. It doesn't matter how hard the problem was. We can figure it out in 20 minutes. Now, we won't necessarily implement it in 20 minutes, but we can figure it out in 20 minutes, right? And you can only really do that if you have a workforce that's willing to sit down and talk through that difficult problem, the talent to do that, but then also the willingness to sit down and suffer through that pain for the 20 minutes to be really, really intense about solving that problem. And it doesn't matter what you're in the middle of, right? You have to be able to just say, okay, I'm working on this thing. And then Greg says, hey, we have a problem here. We need to figure it out. Okay, then you got to shut off your brain for 2 seconds, reset, and then turn it back on. And then sit down for 20 minutes and say, okay, here we go. Now we're going to figure out how to solve this problem. And then in 20 minutes, you figure it out, and then you figure out how to implement it within the next day or the next day. I know I went on some tangents there, but it's just like, I just want to give a picture into what the kind of talent that is in there is. Like the ability to shut off and turn on is such a huge part of being at Tesla, and it's painful. It hurts. But that's the kind of, some people are able to do that and it doesn't hurt. It's like constantly like, turn off the brain, turn it back on. Here's a problem now. Turn it off, turn it back on. Here's a problem now. Where you don't have that lingering effect of like, it's a constant flow. I don't know how to describe it. I'm still to this day trying to perfect it because it's still very painful for me to do that. But I was able to do it while I was there, and I know others have been too. But that's just some ideas into how the typical like brilliant person that works there sort of operates. Yeah. Sorry, I just went on a tangent there.
No. You completely described what I was asking, and also you've said something really interesting. Like you should always find the solution in 20 minutes. Yeah, and that is linked to the pace of innovation. Like you have to work really fast and find solutions, smart solutions, really fast.
Yes,
you've said in some of your videos, like. That in your warehouse there were some situations where you find 5 iteration of an outbound process or something like this that I don't even know what it is. Can you explain some situations in which the speed of innovation in which Tesla did something was amazing in comparison to the average warehouses that you know?
Yeah, I think it's really tied to that. And explain
it for a non-Tesla person, like a dumb person like me. Sure.
No dumb. There's no dumb people. Dumb people don't exist. That's one thing I always tell everybody. It's just exposure, right? Okay, so I'm gonna try to tell the story without giving away too much detail again because of that NDA. So
let's forget about the NDA.
Yeah. The first part, so especially when I joined the company at first, okay, the warehouse was just starting. It had been alive for maybe 3-4 months, okay? And actually, let me fast forward a little bit because I think this will tell it even a little bit better. Let's fast forward 1 year. So it's 1 year after the warehouse has sprung up, okay? And typically when you get a warehouse up after a year or any facility, usually by then, all the processes, all the tooling, all the way they approach the manpower, the labor planning, the dashboards, the KPIs, everything that's part of that system, call it, is basically set in stone. It's like, okay, we launched it for a year, cool. Anytime we want to make a change, we're going to have to go through an engineering review process. We're going to have to vet it. Then we have to go through finance to make sure it works. Then from a finance perspective, then finance will always come back and say, nope, too much money, figure out how to make it, how to spend less. And then you go through that process multiple times. By the time you're at the point where you're able to say, yeah, this works, it might be like 3 or 4 months at least. Okay. Then the engineering team and the facilities team has to go out and say, okay, this is what we need to purchase. This is what it should look like. This is how it's going to impact the flow of the process. And then they go through their testing, right? That might be another 1 to 2 months at least, depending on how long things tends to come into the warehouse, right? Some things take longer to order than others. And then you have to sit down and actually do it. Then you have to do a little test area that says, okay, will this work? Okay, cool, it works. Now let's figure out a date to implement this. And usually that's a date that's like multiple weeks in advance, because they have policies that say, okay, if we want to change this, it's going to take us, I don't know, 4 weeks. So we have to give 4 weeks notice, blah, blah, blah. Just it's a part of their policy. So by now you're at like month 6 or 7, and you're just trying to change a part of how the warehouse ships product from the racks, or where they house the product, to the trailers. Okay, 6-7 months. When I was there, and this is after a year that the warehouse has started, because you need a ramp up stage and then you have a solid state stage, and that's how typically a warehouse would operate. At Tesla, the way that worked is we were live for a year. Okay. And then the thing we always asked ourselves every single day is, how can I make this product flow faster? How can I make this product flow faster? Constantly. And we didn't necessarily have an engineering team that we consulted at the time, especially. We didn't have to necessarily go to finance, because we're always taught to do this in the most frugal way possible. Like, especially if you don't have to buy anything, you just do it, right? And so the way Tesla did it is, okay, so here's what it looks like right now. We think we can get the product out faster if we change the way the product flows from the racks to the warehouse. So instead of, say, picking at one store at a time, or doing what's called batch picking, which is you go out to an area and you collect all the parts for all the customers, and then you bring it out to the floor. We think that it's more efficient if we do it 4 stores at a time, because then that will reduce the time that the product will be out there being picked, and it also arrives at the outbound floor in time, so that the next person that comes to get the product is able to pack it up and put it in the trailer, and then the next order will arrive. So it's kind of striking a balance, right? That would typically have to go through some sort of engineering review or something, where there's like teams of people that analyze the product. At Tesla, we're like, okay, let's try that tomorrow. Let's try it. Let's just try it. And the key thing there, though, from a staff perspective, is that you need a staff that is willing to do that, right? Because that is change. Change is painful for most people. Change is painful. Tesla teaches you that change is necessary. You have to change constantly. So you have a workforce that is very much open to change, constantly willing to change. And so what happens then is, instead of having to a review process, you just try it. You just try it. And if it breaks, you fix it. And if it doesn't break, the next day you're like, okay, so what can I change on this to make it even better, right? That's the beauty behind it, is that it's a variable of change that is so hard to break in a lot of these typical companies, right? That you want to implement something, and Tesla thrives on it. Tesla expects you to do it, especially at the facility that we were in. There was like a 2-week period, and I said like 5 or 6 outbound changes. That was like major overhauls. I'm talking about like the whole floor, where we had to get forklifts in and literally pick stuff up and put it down somewhere else. Like, it took a lot of work, but we would have iterations of a process in a week long, like at least 5 or 6. And each day we would try it. Okay, try it this way. Now try it this way. Now try it this way. And again, that's sort of the beauty behind it. That was a year into the warehouse, and it was still happening 2 years in and 3 years in. I remember when I moved when I moved away from Bethlehem and I moved to Austin, like there is situations where I left the warehouse and I moved away for 3 months. And then I went back to visit, and then the warehouse looked completely different. I'm like, what the hell happened? What the hell happened? They're like, oh yeah, no, we wanted to implement this thing, and it seemed like the right thing to do, and we've added it, and it seemed good, so we changed it. I'm like, okay, I'm not surprised. It was surprising when you're away from it for more than a few months, because you come in and then the place looks entirely different. You're like, what the hell just happened? That's super rare. especially multiple years into an operation, because you have all these layers of different departments that want to get in the way. They want to say, yep, this is how it should be done, blah, blah, blah. Tesla trusts its workers. It's like, yeah, just, is that better? Yeah, try it. Okay, go figure it out. See if it works. Yeah.
Wow. And of course, with you guys and with that talent, with that speed of innovation, we have a company that is making such a great products and also in a profitable way. Like the results of Q4, it was outstanding. Like
shocking.
Than an 8,000. When I watched it, I was like, wow. I mean, not even the bullish Tesla fans, they were even saying, okay, maybe 300,000. And your profile is so interesting because you are not only ex-worker, but also Tesla investor before you were an ex-worker, and also you had a couple of Model S's and a Model Y, so you're also a Tesla client. I wanted to know, you invested, I think 2012, 2013, the first time. And then thanks to that, you were able to buy your house. You've said, okay, Tesla has changed my life in 3 different ways. But I wanted to ask you, from a Tesla investor, what changed your mind before working in Tesla and after working in Tesla? How do you see Tesla as an investment different?
Great question. So for me, the one thing that wasn't obvious to me before I worked at Tesla was just the level of talent and how much the people there are willing to work the way that Elon works himself, right? Like the first principles, work as hard as you can. That wasn't obvious to me. Okay. So after I worked at Tesla and I left, the thing that I came away with was Tesla can solve any problem it will ever face. That was my big takeaway. Like no challenge is too big. That was my takeaway. That might be naive. That might be me maybe trusting too much, but I honestly don't think so. Especially as long as Elon's at that company, and I truly do believe this as an investor. This is my perspective, and I don't want anyone to make investment decisions based on what I say. Okay, do your own research. But I think it's extremely difficult for me to see a world where anything would arise from a challenge perspective, political, whatever, earthquake, one of the freaking factories gets hit by a meteor. Just come up with any sort of crazy thing. The Elon's leadership and the staff that works at Tesla will figure out how to solve that thing. And then within a year's time, it will be like it never happened. And they'll be at the next stage of where they are. From an investment perspective, I think they're one of the most challenge-proof companies out there because of that workforce, because of their ability to solve problems. Because if you really think about it, if you have a skill set of solving an engineering problem or a warehouse problem, it's the kind of people that are there. They're not really just thinking about how to solve an engineering problem. They're just thinking about how to solve problems, period. It's a very transferable skill set. It's not just specifically for picking or how to make a part go a certain way. It's how to solve any problem. And that's the genius behind that company, is that in that staff, it doesn't matter what the problem is. It doesn't matter what you're facing. We're going to figure out how to solve it, you know? And that as an investor makes me extremely confident. Again, it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. Now, it will take time sometimes things take time, right? It doesn't mean that next year it's going to double or triple. But if I'm thinking about like, okay, where do I put my money so that it's safest? It's Tesla. It's safer in my opinion, it's safer than any other investment that exists on planet Earth. It's Tesla, because until Elon dies or there's some sort of thing that says everybody at the staff, or Elon does something completely insane that completely turns off that entire workforce, in my opinion, Tesla is a safer investment than even real estate. That's my opinion, you know? I don't know, and that's how I tend to think about it.
Mine as well, not being a Tesla worker, but researching Tesla. Yeah. And all these talented people that you've said that they can solve any problem, that it's incredible. you've said in one of your videos, they have like 2 ways to get stocks from Tesla, like the RSU, restricted stock units. And then there's like 6 months windows that they can buy stocks, and you also could buy stock with a 15% off. Can you explain this a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So that's the employee stock purchase program, which is very, very common for publicly traded companies. So that's not just a Tesla thing. It's actually common at many other public companies. And that's actually something that they do talk about, like when you're in the hiring process. That's one of the perks, is that you can be part of the employee stock purchase program. So the way it works is there's a window that there's 2 windows in a year, or in a 12-month period rather. So there's a 6-month period. So I think Teslas start in March and it ends in September. That's 6 months. So what happens is, as an employee, you have the ability to put up to 15% of your salary or your hourly rate into an escrow account, into like an account. Okay, like I can say, okay, I get paid, just a round number, $1,000 a month, or $1,000 a paycheck. I can put 15% of that, so $150 of that, into an account. Okay, starting on March 1st, and then up through September 30th, that money will collect. Right, so every paycheck, $150 will come out. All right, so then come March 30th, you'll have, I don't know, whatever that number is, $1,000. Just use round numbers. You have $1,000 in there. Excuse me. Then at the end of that period, the employee stock purchase program will look at the price on March 1st, and it will look at the price on September 30th. Okay, and then it will pick the lower of those 2 prices. So say Tesla's stock price was at $900 on March 1st, but it's at $1,200 on September 30th. Okay, it will pick the $900 price, and then you'll get 15% off that price. And then the $1,000 you've bought, or the $1,000 you've put into escrow, will be used to purchase stock at that price. Okay, so 15% off 900 is $860, whatever that number is, right? Or less, $760 or something. Yeah. So then at the end of the period, that money will be used to purchase those shares. Okay, and then
with a 15% discount, right?
Correct. Exactly right. And so what's really cool about that is that you essentially get a 15% bonus if you decide to sell it right away. So on the money that you put away, it's like almost like the way I thought about it is like an immediate 401k, like a 401k retirement plan where, you put your money into like a retirement account, and then you get on average 7 to 8% return per year because you track your indices or whatever, and you say the S&P is going to return 8% a year, so blah blah blah. But the way I view that is like, okay, so barring something crazy happening from like September 30th to October 5th, which it usually takes about 5 days for your stocks to come alive and you're able to sell them, unless the stock price goes down 15% or it goes down even more, right? You'll be able to make basically quote unquote guaranteed money on your investment. Now it's 15% of your salary, but it's like a super cool way of like empowering employees to try and make a little bit more money, try to give them the ability to leverage that employee stock purchase program. But again, it's not unique to Tesla. That's very common amongst a lot of public companies.
That's very common, but what I wanted to ask you, like from your experience, the average, once again, when you spoke with your Tesla colleagues, do they usually buy these 15% stock options, like in general?
Yes, they do. So one of the really cool things that we did at our facility, so because I've been an investor for a while, I have been exposed to trading and investing. I'm by no means an expert, but I do have exposure to it. One of the things that employees there would commonly wonder about is like, okay, how can I get more stock? Because they'll be working at the company, especially in 2019, 2020, they'll see this crazy ramp of the price of like, oh my God, how can I get more? How can I get more? So we had these classes. I had these classes where I brought in 5-6 people at a time, from the floor, and they're like, okay, here comes Farzad's investing class, right? Don't listen to my advice,
Right.
do your own advice, blah, blah, blah. But then I would walk them through like the mechanics of what the stock market is, what a market cap is, what a stock price is, like really give them the fundamentals to figure out how the stock market works. And then what ended up happening is like well over half of that warehouse wanted to take the class because they wanted to know how to invest in the company, right? The other half of the company, the other half of the staff was on Robinhood buying Tesla stock already. You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of those things. Like there's a very like direct, and of course they were still tied to the laws and regulations for Tesla employees that are internal, where you can't sell during a blackout period. So public companies have blackout periods for a month and a half where you can't sell any stock. They're still they still have to abide by those rules, right? But when the window was open, they're more than free to go on Robinhood or wherever and buy Tesla stock. And I think that's one really cool thing that happened with Robinhood. It really democratized how people invested in shares, and Tesla employees would very much take advantage of that. But then they were also like buying, Lucid. They were buying, Lordstown, and I don't know, freaking Bitcoin and whatever. It was like it was a very fascinating thing to see evolve once Robinhood came alive. There were a lot of Tesla investors at the company working there, not just from getting paid in shares, but also through that employee stock purchase program, and also through their own, like how can I get even more? How can I get even more Tesla shares? It was really cool to see. It was very fascinating seeing like a lot of people that never would have invested in shares invest in stock because of Tesla, because of working there. It was really cool. It was really, really cool.
Well, one of the things that Peter Lynch says in One Step on Wall Street, he says something like invest in companies in the ones that insiders are buying stocks. So this question maybe is a little bit private, and you can say, okay, mind your own business. But Farzad, and just tell me, go, vete a Malaguita. Farzad as an individual, or this average Tesla worker that you might imagine, what percentage of their investment is in Tesla stock?
Yeah, so I definitely can't talk about other people because I have no idea how they manage their expenses. Mine's pretty significant. The way I think about it. So, I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that. Mine's pretty significant.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a significant part of my portfolio. Yeah, I have, we have real estate, we have other securities that we trade, but Tesla is a very significant part of that portfolio. Maybe in another video I'll give more details, but yeah.
Yeah, we cannot say everything in the first video. And you have a model of a great video that you detail it, and also you have a spreadsheet where you explain what you expect of Tesla in the next years, and you have a model of the price for 2035. Yes. That it would be in your model 49,000. Can you give a short? And I recommend everyone to watch not only that video, but all of them, especially the ones of the pros and cons of working in Tesla. That was awesome.
I appreciate that. So the overarching theme about that 49,000 price target is really multiple fold. So I broke it down into three major categories. It was transportation, energy, and artificial intelligence. I think that if we look at 15 years in advance, there is a high likelihood chance that Tesla is going to solve the AI problem. That's both full self-driving and also the robotics problem. So the bot, like the personal assistant, right? Which they showed not too long ago. I really do think there is a future where 15 years from now, the bot is going to be a significant portion of Tesla's profitability because of how profound that solution is. It's automating hard work. It's automating labor that most humans don't want to do. And that represents a significant percentage of the total world's population, right? And so in my model, I have it that Tesla is going to be able to sell 100 million bots a year by 2035. And when I initially made that model, I'm like, man, that number seems stupid high. Like that seems so stupid high. And I try to do it I try to come at it in a very reasonable way. But then Elon had a interview with Lex Fridman recently. I don't know if you saw that, but Lex Fridman asked, could there be a world where there's hundreds of millions of Tesla bots? And Elon said, yes. And I'm like, okay, well then maybe it's not 2035, maybe it's 2045 or 2040. I don't know the number. But because that solution or that thing is likely possible in the future, it's going to be something that it's something that I think is going to be a huge part of Tesla's model moving forward. And it goes back to the thing of like Tesla employees and Tesla as a company just they're able to solve anything. And if they're able to solve the bot thing, then it's going to be insane. And I honestly think in that model, I'm probably not giving enough credit to full self-driving. Honestly, I think full self-driving could be way more than what I'm saying in the model, but I'm trying to be balanced because I'm already giving the bots, in a lot of people's opinions, so much credit. I'm like scared to put the full self-driving on it because who knows, it could be 100,000. I don't freaking know, So but that's really the thought process is that the AI, Tesla working on AI is going to be much more profound than Tesla working on electric vehicles. Electric vehicles they almost seem like the past already for Tesla. And that's what's crazy. Every other company in the world, it's so crazy. Every other company, we're going to go electric. Ford just said today that they're going to, double their production from 75,000 to 150,000 electric vehicles. Great. Or pickup trucks. That's awesome. But Tesla's like, yeah, we're going to solve full self-driving and no one's going to have to drive in about a year's time. Oh, and by the way, we're making this personal assistant that's going to be able to do all the work that humans do right now that suck. Like it seems old news already, and it feels like for me, it feels like 2010. It feels like 2010, 2011, before I discovered Tesla, where no one knew what the hell Tesla was. That's what the AI stuff feels like for me. And so if you think about what is Tesla's long-term potential from a stock perspective, it's probably, we should never draw parallels between past and future too often, but Tesla seems to have this common thread where history does repeat itself in ways. And I think, in my opinion, it's going to repeat itself when it comes to how AI is going to change the world in a similar way that EVs are going to change the world, which is completely inevitable. Nobody's talking about the AI portion, or at least taking it seriously. Nobody really thinks that it's possible. I tend to be on the camp of never doubt that company. Just don't do it. There's way too many freaking smart people. Do not doubt that company. Do not doubt that company. It's going to hurt you if you doubt that company.
And knowing what you know about how the people are doing these crazy things, and speaking about the future, the first person that you interviewed, Dave Lee, on investing, he has an interview with Andrea James. I don't know if you know, she was a former Tesla analyst. And she speaks, I think at the beginning of the video, like minute 5 or something, about the second floor of Tesla. Like at the time, the Fremont factory, when you went to the second floor, it was like a secret floor that you could only enter with a special key. And that all the new stuff, all the new products, all the new technologies were being built. Do you think that in that second floor, or maybe now they have another place, do you think in the places that Tesla is innovating, they are thinking about new products that we don't even know?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I'll tell you that the second floor of the factory is definitely not a secret place. It's freaking full over there. There's a lot of manufacturing going on in there, but absolutely 100%. There's no way. I mean, again, I go back to the whole, like, if you have the smartest engineers in the world, why wouldn't you be working on cool new stuff all the time? Like, why wouldn't you be doing that? I do think there's very likely a pipeline of products that we would be like, why the hell is Tesla making this? And then it will become obvious in the next following days. They'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I very much do think so. I think, like, and I don't have any insider information whatsoever. This is not me saying, oh, I saw this at Tesla. This is just me as an investor thinking about it. All forms of transportation we know are going to go electric at some point. Boats and planes, for sure. I don't know if they're already working on that, possibly. But I think anything that relates to the consumption of energy, period. So anything that requires a battery, period, I think Tesla is going to, in one way or another, manufacture something. So think of anything that has batteries, lawnmowers, phones, I don't know, just pick whatever you want. Why wouldn't Tesla do that? You know, if they're really going to be designing these batteries that are so fundamental in changing the economies of scale of how batteries sort of function, right? They're going to make it so much cheaper and way more efficient. Why wouldn't you put a product on that battery and then sell that as well? You know, maybe they will just get into the game of selling batteries, but I don't think Elon and engineers think that way. I think they just want to make cool shit. You know, they just want to make cool stuff all the time. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I'm not surprised by anything Tesla does because I just know the kind of people that work there. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, who knows? But I'm 100% sure they're working on stuff we don't know. 100% sure. Yeah, it's just getting started.
Yeah, completely.
That's how it
maybe
feels
houses, maybe manufacturing houses as well for Mars. And
I think AC units are going to be very big. Yeah, AC like aircon is going to be something Tesla's definitely going to get into because it makes a ton of sense to ensure that the efficiency of the energy that your solar panel takes in, you don't want your AC or aircon to take too much of that. Exactly. So stuff like that's definitely going to be a huge one. I do think Austin, this area is going to become like a testing place for the Mars colony. And I think the reason why he picked Texas is because there's a lot of freedom around business, but there's also a tremendous amount of land. There's so much land here. And I think, you know, Tesla's probably going to make this place, luckily, hopefully anyway, into this like testing area for what Mars is going to look like. And all those technologies that are tagged to that are going to come alive here. So really anything that is needed on Mars for the first colony there, Tesla or SpaceX, they're definitely going to have to make because it's not going to be profitable the first time. It's going to be way too freaking expensive. And you have two companies that are going to be making money hand over fist. Tesla already is kind of doing that already, you know? So who else is better suited to make those technologies that are needed for those for that colony than Tesla or SpaceX? It seems obvious, but it also seems very far reaching and too future and maybe unreasonable in a way, but it's a logical flow from where we are now to where we could end up.
Yeah, it looks like the total addressable market of Tesla keeps growing and growing and growing. You said, okay, transportation, then energy, then the whole labor, then who knows what. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Farzad, all my interviews I finish with a game that is, okay. I say just one sentence or concept, and you have to say really, really fast the first word that pops to your mind, but really fast. Okay? And this I want to be you. Okay, Farzad Mesbahi.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Farzad Mesbahi. Do I say it correctly?
You got it. Yeah. Okay. You got it.
Which is the word that pops to your mind for vertical integration?
Necessary.
Model 3 production hell.
Painful.
Elon Musk.
Visionary.
Speed of innovation.
Can I use the same word twice?
No.
Crucial.
Talent at Tesla.
Unique.
Tesla's mission.
Amazing.
Tesla's empowering people.
Powerful.
Farzad Mesbahi.
Human.
Tesla.
Best.
Great. Okay, it was a great pleasure. I wanted to ask you in the interview, people will be seeing your Twitter account. I will link your YouTube channel. Where else can they contact you? And also, I know that you're writing a book, but you still don't have it, no, on sale.
Right. Yeah, right? I'm still in the process of writing a book. Yeah, I'm hoping to finish it sometime this year and have it published. But yeah, people can find me on Twitter at Farzyness, FARZYNESS. I also have a website at farzadmesbahi.com, so my full name.com. yeah, my YouTube channel, I make content there. My Twitter, I just use as a sort of way to just communicate with people. It's not like a Tesla specific thing. I'm like retweeting stuff all the time. So that's kind of what I do. And yeah, and my website, I do a little bit of art on the side just for fun, and I have pictures of it. And it's awful. It's nothing special, but it's something that I've taken up, you know? Yeah.
They are NFT, right?
Yes, there are NFTs as well. And that's something that I'm like starting to like dabble into. I'm like, I don't know what this NFT thing is. Let me just, you know, I like to just try things. So we tried that. But yeah, those are the places that people can find me. And this YouTube thing has been really fun for me, and I'm going to continue to do it for as long as it's still fun. And so far it's been a blast. So thank you so much for having me. This was super fun, and I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. But I have a tradition before you leave that as I start every video and finish saying, hola, soy Alejandro Sahuquillo y estoy aquí para que triunfes, I always ask to my guests when I have an interview to say it themselves, but do you have your guitar around?
Oh, man. No, I got to like plug it in and stuff.
Okay,
no.
Because I thought maybe we could mix, because Farzad, for the ones, maybe the Spanish-speaking channel that maybe you didn't follow, he finished all his videos playing the guitar. So, okay, maybe next time we can do it by playing the guitar.
I'll be prepared for that one.
I just wanted to say, hola, soy Farzad Mesbahi y estoy aquí para que triunfes.
Hola, soy Farzad Mesbahi y estoy aquí para que triunfes.
You see how Tesla people are super smart? He said it completely. He learned Spanish in a second.
Because I was born in Spain, that's why.
We will cut that.
Okay.
Okay. You live in the best moment in history. Enjoy! If you like this video, please give it a like, leave a comment, share it with the whole universe. And since I want to make interesting videos for you, I need to know what interests you. Write your suggestions. If you have enjoyed this type of content, subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future videos. I'm working hard to make the best possible content for you, but it takes time. Consider supporting me in Patreon, the best moment in history, so I can stop living under a bridge and continue creating content for you. There's a link in the description. Thank you very much from the heart. Gracias.